Here actually in that way with nature, that because you need that nature's help in a certain way. You must live in nature, not to get attached to nature, because we know, because if you get attached to nature, what happens? Even Lagala or any other place, any jungle, Himalayas, anything in the Kamaloka, attachment will create suffering. It will make you disturbed. You'll be worried about if someone is cutting the trees, if they are doing something. But it's sankhara. This is a conditioned thing. It's not in our hands. So if it has not seeped into your mind, and you will be affected. What means when you're affected, you're creating karma. You'll have to come again. You have to see these things, experience these things. So. Yeah, it is today morning. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. Tomorrow we'll have to do that, right? It's because there's another entire different. Did you all come from 3 o'clock? Were you all here? Okay. What did you do? Did you do little metta and anapanasati and like that? You try to, even if you just stay even, it is a special time. You should never miss. Brahmanurti is called, so. That time there's one occasion where if there are some hidden blockages in your system, that can be removed. There can be a touch of the cosmic hand. That is the possibility. So we have to use these tools. We don't have the Buddha alive. That is one. But finally, I think it's the biggest, you could say, block remover, and will be this reading, going through this, because whatever blockage is due to some kind of clinging, some kind of holding. So this reading, this is actually, that's why I said you must relax and you must read where you are helping your relaxation more. It means you must try to apply to your present situation, and when you are applying, you will be letting go. And then you will feel suddenly more relaxed, more peaceful. That's how you should read sutta. You should not, when you're reading a sutta, you should become energized after each page. One is a great kusal, so you must apply little. See, it's so simple, but you must learn to slowly put it to yourself, and then visualize it mainly. See from your mind. That can happen when you have more samadhi, when your focus power is more. So to increase your focus power, you have to decrease your distracting nature. And make in your daily practices of paying attention to the moment and not allowing your senses to go to anything unnecessary. So I'm very happy when I was walking here. There's one person who was so absorbed with reading the book. This is what I am expecting, not to wait for me. One person was, this is very important. I've seen after 7-8 days, this happens sometimes. Some people are reading the book there, near the bow tree, somewhere, someone seated near that small stream. They're all absorbed because they are getting that word opened from the Dhamma. So I hope it will happen one by one. But very important, you all should get relaxed I think in Singaleka Dhamma, did you put the Sinhalese one? No, no? Nothing, eh? But yesterday you put, no? So then you would have heard that I have told, when if you're tired or anything, or if you're like, do everything, then you can go back to the kuti and maybe lie down. Okay, I have told that because you have to get that natural, initially, bodily relaxedness, peacefulness. I think all of you look very fresh, so you all look okay, you are okay. So there's no problem. I heard Venerable came walking, right? Very good, I'm very happy. Oh, how many? Even this, both of, okay, very good, very good. All the virya I have done in the past, is creating that energy, very good. That is the energy you need. But this is different. Now you need both. Sometimes that is easy, right? This is the internal practice. It should be both together. That is fine. Then you are a perfect monk. You have that external asceticism and then internal, mainly how to attain Nibbana. Really to be practicing towards attaining Nibbana. Doing the cause, doing the thing that will make you attain Nibbana. If you have attained, okay. If you have not attained, okay, waiting, doing the thing. So not making any kind of slogans or kind of this thing that Nibbana is really possible now. We are doing. It's not like that. We are doing the thing that will make you achieve it. So this is where it's possible. So much possible. We are practicing. If you are practicing, if you are doing that and then only talk, preaching and all these things, no, it won't do. You should be silently doing this. That's actually my idea, that there should be people now really practicing, then let's make them attain it. And Buddha gives the guarantee that the moment of death they will attain. But it should be what he's saying, you should be influenced by him. You can't trust anyone else. It's not possible. So my teacher used to tell me that if someone is sincere on the path, spiritually sincere, they will direct you to the sutras. So my teacher used to tell that. And they don't make, so that each person comes with different karma, even spiritual karma, and different things they have to associate. I also came in contact with him, and I thought all monks are like this in Sri Lanka those days when I came from South Africa and Lesotho, so I thought first through my grandma I met him, and I thought everybody is like okay. Later when I was in Aranya, I realized he was a rare person with the true Dhamma and the practice, not just doing doing it to really attain it, spending his whole time for that. For years and years and years, and living a wandering life. First 10 years in Polgastua, and when I was his attendant, I saw the result of it. I told you yesterday, a person who was really suffering physically, I have never seen someone like that. There was a bone here which was like, it has, he was told not to walk. He told when he was young, he used to do gymnastics and he had a fall. And when he later on, when he was walking, that weakness where he had in his hip start to come up. So that is one. Then after that, the doctors advised him not to go further because he used to walk up till Ampara, Jaffna, like this he used to go. So from Colombo. And then when the doctor said, not to walk any further, he did walk until he told me Attanagalla like this. He was then 80 like this, 81. And he used to tell me, there is this Vedana, that the pain is there. It's only a mental factor. And just the bone and the flesh, there's that. We are making a fuss. Normally when we have, if we are given this anesthesia, then we nicely go. We have the problem, but we don't care. But to separate it from the mind, seeing it as only Vedana Sanya, like this, and then not to pay too much seriousness about it, without making it solid. This practice he was able to do, and just continue walking. That means you face the Vedana, you face the pain. You face it as a feeling and note it as an illusion, a phantom. Feelings, perceptions. So these things will come if you have a deep experience from, when we are now doing like this, staying like this, there's a possibility that we'll experience that. Then it goes inside us. It becomes a latent nature in us, an experience that goes very deep into our consciousness. Then it's possible, then that sort of solidness goes away. So today, you have been reading this word of the Buddha, and by tomorrow, day after, you can read from here as well as read from yesterday we started the Kandavagga. Go through the Kandavagga slowly. Because this is the second 10-day retreat. No? We had 3. Then I'm not used to the 10-day one. I have got used to going through very fast. You should not go fast. Because this is the best way. You can slowly read quietly and do the walking and all that. And like that only to have the real effect. This we read again, page number 13, Dependent Origination of Consciousness. Now though one's eye be intact, yet if the external forms do not fall within the field of vision, and no corresponding conjunction of eye and forms takes place, in that case there occurs no formation of the corresponding aspect of consciousness. Although one's eye be intact and the external forms fall within the field of vision, yet if no corresponding conjunction takes place, in that case too there occurs no formation of the corresponding aspect of consciousness. If however one's eye is intact and the external forms fall within the field of vision, the corresponding conjunction takes place. In that case there arises the corresponding aspect of consciousness. Hence I say the rising of consciousness is dependent upon conditions, and without these conditions no consciousness arises. And upon whatsoever conditions the rising of consciousness is dependent, after these it is called consciousness whose arising depending on eye and forms is called eye consciousness. Now when you are reading like this, you will be noticing immediately, like you have the eye or ear, there's an object, and then these two have to come, and your manasikara has to come, and all three coming together, consciousness arises. Okay, they are not one thing, they are like parts or components. You have the ear, you have this thing, and all coming together only it arises. So when you are already mentally picturing like that, the idea of a self will start to break. Now this solid thing you are seeing or feel, we have got so used to, mentally only you can see it is not so solid as such. It is kind of, building blocks put together. They are building blocks. So now even this consciousness and its small, how it functions, when you begin to mentally picture like that, in your mind this idea of real nature of anatta will start to come. It will come in your mind. It won't come as more of your awareness develops about this process. Okay? So this is what you are using this for. All of you understand what I am saying? I don't know. I hope so. Yesterday what I said, did you all understand? I hope so. But don't worry, you must read, continue reading, and that effect will start to happen. I have a lot of experience with these things. For the last 3 months, we had some in tears as time goes on, because the sutta starts to talk in a way. It becomes live, it's very interesting. Live means fine clarity will start to come. You have seen the truth. Buddha is nothing but Dhammaraja, It is, he is actually Dhammaraja. And if you are sincere, and if you, I feel this thing I've seen most of who are coming, they have been practicing just like me. They are all really real seekers. And that's wonderful. And I hope this will help you on this situation that you are in this time. It's helping me also, because rather than me going more towards what I really naturally goes, now this is forcing me to come to the Arya knowledge, which I had very strongly when I was a young boy. I'm not now starting. It was there like nothing when I was a boy. So, but time comes where it gets again. Now when I'm coming to my old age, it's coming up again. Better late than never, right? Hence I say the rising of consciousness is dependent upon conditions. Without these conditions, no consciousness arises. And upon whatever conditions, the rising of consciousness dependent. After these, it is called consciousness whose arising depending on the eye and forms is called eye consciousness. Consciousness whose arising depending on the ear and forms is called ear consciousness. Consciousness whose arising depending on the olfactory organ and orders is called nose consciousness. Consciousness whose arising depending on the tongue and taste is called tongue. Now when you are reading, you must use this to navigate your mind, your attention. Okay? So when it says tongue, you must picture suddenly your own tongue right here. That is the way it's done as a meditation. When it goes to consciousness whose arising depending on the body, then you know it's the entire body in the form of touch. When you the tactile this thing you are getting. Consciousness whose arising depending on the mind and mind objects. That's with the brain. Okay, you take it as that. Whatsoever there is of corporeality on that occasion, this belongs to the group of corporeality. So whenever that experience happens with if you take slow motion, with the ear and the object, then only consciousness comes. So if you really want, because we are always used to being conscious. Only when we fall asleep only, that's we go into a kind of so if you really want to think that you're hearing nothing and then start to hear. You see nothing, then you start to see. You're blind, you're completely dark. Then when you're slowly opening, then how it comes so fast, it happens so fast. Okay? So that you can't see like this when it's happening. No, that's not the way. We begin to see its process in our mind. That's why that's a kind of meditation where we are analyzing in our mind. So this kind of thing can be done when our mind is free from hindrances, when it's bright. That's the main prerequisite for this kind of thinking to happen. So that's why we simultaneously try to develop, on the side we try to develop this samadhi and through metta and anapanasati. So we learn to empty the mind, relax a bit, and then we learn to read again, to analyze. So then they go together, reading and meditating. Reading is also meditating, but this is a specific type of the final meditation. But then how you are doing, you learn to apply. Apply and mentally, get the picture of the Dhamma. Then only the right Sri Sambuddha Ramaneeya start to happen. That Dhamma is this Dhamma, no other Dhamma. This Dhamma that you are analyzing, the Dhammata of the phenomena of Rupa Vedana. So whenever consciousness arises, you know that whatever there is form for that consciousness to arise. Now for example, ear consciousness to arise, the form is the ear, with 4 elements. And whatever vibration that has come, that belongs to the 4 elements. Apo Tejo Vayu Patel. Yesterday we just looked at that also. So that those two were there, and then whatever that sort of initial awareness that came, that is consciousness. That should be there, and then there is whatever you felt, that is there. Then whatever you perceive is. So they all fall under simply feeling, perception, and so on. So they are factors of consciousness. So each person will have their factors of consciousness arising. But we have given names to those people, those personality and all that. We have given name Gnanaloka. So much clinging, so much identification to this simple process. So now we are beginning to see it as a process, which is actually what is going on. Whatever there are of mental formations, these belong to the mental formations. Whatsoever there is of consciousness, this belongs to the group of consciousness. And it is impossible for anyone to explain the passing out of one existence and the entering into new existence, or the growth, increase and development of consciousness independently of form, feeling, perception and mental formations. Okay? So you can't find a single moment in samsara where you are not with this rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, samsara, remember. So they are always present. Okay? That's why when we understand this, we have understood everything that is possible to be understood. So now I'm just going to introduce you to something what Bhante said. Bhante used to explain, I used to like this, especially when I'm peaceful, he used to tell this, and I get more peace. What happens to how the consciousness is conditioned, in his way he explains it in us. It will help you all when you're reading further now the skandha in the coming time. It will help you to see the connection between Tanha and the Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, the Panchupadana skandha. These are very important to familiarize. So he used to tell me those days, like say you're doing business, you're in a business family, you have a lot of say, all sort of enterprises, all sort of industry, and all sort of family who is doing a lot of business. So as a child or as an adult later, you get so exposed to that, and you also become a businessman, and so on. And you do it justfully, without breaking the 5 precepts, for example. So you accumulate that type of sankhara. Mano sankhara, vachi sankhara, kaya sankhara. Sankhara is mental formation, what you say, what you are doing. So this type of sankhara will have to bring this type of consciousness. So at the moment of death, the causes will be presented where you get a last thought, last object for last thought, where that will take you to another rebirth. Okay? So it will be most probably, it will be nicely corresponding to a rebirth where the family will encourage you to do business and will bring you, send you to maybe business school, or they already have a business, so that you can continue that particular consciousness. It will happen like that. Now, this is for example. Okay? So, yeah, you can say even now a lot of people who are born here in Sri Lanka, they would have been practicing the Dhamma because the families had this thing, taking them to temple, associating, even that is definitely there. That's why you are born here. Why not? You can be born somewhere in Beverly Hills or somewhere. But here, because you had some karma, I can see my own parents actually, how in their small innocent way, I was exposed as a small boy, it really makes an impact. Going to Maligaon and all the devalas and like that, as a baby. And even night time they used to imagine like cracking of, the wood, like devatas are going. But I used to also really feel that. And it's very interesting. So like this, your consciousness, to support it, you will get the proper, suitable family. Now, Bhante is to tell, so normally when we are doing anapanasati or sati, the in-breath and out-breathing, almost every one of us, the last moment when the last breath goes, we are not aware. We get the last, a thought. Normally in the Abhidhamma they call it Chutisita and Pratisambhasita. So that object comes last moment. So to take you, that becomes the object for consciousness. Now we know consciousness needs a condition. So this is a condition that comes in the Manodwara, object. So even if you are really like looking unconscious from outside, you have the Manodwara, the object to come, a nimitta. That becomes an object for consciousness to arise. Okay, so I add one thing to this. Say for example an anagami, he has no karma. Now actually how do we get objects? For even to come here, first you heard about this place, okay? And you have karma to come to experience this kind of thing. You can take this like a small rebirth. Okay, from Colombo or somewhere, you got to know, and then you had an interest. This is something you have done before. It won't come just like, and what you're familiar also in a certain way. So that karma is also there for you to come, and the thought comes first, and then you pursue that, and then finally you are, same way, what karma is more predominant and coming out, that will bring you the last object, the thought will come. So for example, anagami, a person who has attained, he has no karma. Karma is all absent in the Kamaloka, right? He will not get a thought of his mother or some kind of, his wife or, no, nothing like that. Or even about the Aranya or somebody, some brother monks, or he will not get any such thought. And any kind of food or anything from the five senses, his karma, that's why we call him anagami, never return. There are no causes for him to come back to this kind of sensual realm. But why he's still anagami, not arahant? He's not completely mastered or completely annihilated karma in terms of the higher experiences, through the higher senses, higher experiences of peacefulness, samadhi. So that is when that samadhi is an object, and that peacefulness is a feeling. Where there's feeling, there's perception. Panchupadana skandha is there. So that's why when the last breath goes, okay, when the last breath is going in, can he watch the last breath? Can he see until the last breath goes, or what happens to him? Do you think he can do that? We know the other person can't do that. But do you think an anagami can keep his attention to the last breath? What do you think? He can't, Huh? You don't know? Okay. No, just if you just sort of find out now, because how the karma, whether he has karma accumulated in the Kamaloka, no, we know. But his karma is there in the Brahmaloka. So last moment what happened? His mind will go to the samadhi. So that mind going to the samadhi is that his attention is going there, and there is consciousness. How for consciousness to arise, the causes are there. Then when there's consciousness, there's nama-rupa, and there's rebirth in that way. Okay, and arahant, this is how Bhante used to tell me. Arahant has no karma anywhere. He's extinguished completely, and he's completely in the awareness of rising and passing away. Okay. So the last moment, will he have any particular last thought? Can he keep his attention to the breath? To the last moment, can he keep and not attached to the breath also? Can he keep or not? It's possible. So then, when he's keeping his attention to the breath, last moment, is there any, for consciousness to arise, will there be any cause? No. So there, completely, but my teacher used to tell me, it is deep, it looks simple, it is deep, and he used to keep it. But it helped me a lot later on. This simple thing, how the consciousness is conditioned, and you remove the conditions, then it can't arise. This you must keep in mind. Okay? And you must begin to think, this is peaceful, this is what I should one day come to, leaving all attachments in every way. So now the skandha is generally clear, right? Okay? I hope so. Is it clear, Venerable? Did you understand what I was saying? Because just to, the thing that is important is you must know that consciousness, just now we read also, consciousness is an object and the organ, and both two together, then depending on that, with the attention, manasikara, that consciousness arises. These things have to be there. Without one of them absent, it won't arise. So this is always happening to us, with the ear, with the nose, with the tongue. Now that is broken. We are breaking it because we know rising is suffering. Okay? So now when we are reading, the purpose of the Buddha, to even the purpose of making someone an Arahant, Anupadeya, Asave, Ashraya, all the Ashraya to be destroyed. Non-clinging, completely removing clinging is the purpose of this wisdom. That's why I said when you are reading and applying, you feel more lighter because you are letting go. You are getting the technique of letting go more. Even sometimes letting go your own meditation or whatever you are trying to do, everything. Then when you are letting go, if you had a problem with something, this problem was created by holding on to. Then when you are doing this, it will let go unconsciously or consciously. Then you find the problem gets solved. That's why I told you this retreat will, I don't know any other way. If there are any blockages in your path or anything, this will going to remove. If you properly do it, of course. Like the first day my mother came and she was holding the book only because I don't know why. She didn't read or go through what I said because I told you there's an initiation that's going to happen. For that you must continue reading. Continue reading and applying as I told you and meditating. You must do this continuously. Whether I come or not or don't, consider that. My teacher didn't meet this much or talk this much. We met twice after after 2 days I used to meet him in the evening. And so there's not much talking or getting explanations. Just go dive directly to Buddha what he's speaking and something will happen to you. And we have that faith, otherwise why we are sticking to this so much? Not only faith, something of experience of this, and that is a vast thing, and you must allow yourself to empty yourself. That is with metta and anapanasati. These things you can do. The singular one, I hope you understood in the way I was practicing the metta, how to spread, and that's also you can come to samadhi and anapanasati, then you let go the metta also. So I don't know if you have heard it one time. Tomorrow, hopefully I will see. In the morning I will do the English one. I'm going to practice the metta and then anapanasati. In the morning should be good because that's more like samadhi. That's the only time you are getting to practice samadhi continuously until 6 o'clock. That time you will have another thing activated. So that will help you. That's why it's not one way. I told you if you have some, like you find some problem continuously happen even after doing all this, you are getting something you can't resolve. There's another option that is during the morning time. We'll see, I might tell you, one called Danda Namaskar. Okay? The Danda Namaskar, something that how you place yourself to the Buddha and the Buddha's infinite power. his Parami power and his Buddha Shaktiya to think about it. And place your refuge to him, relax and place it to him. That's one thing you can do, even in case. Okay? This I have experienced some things with this. I have not done personally, but in the modern time, some things which are there which can't meet, it also has an effect, which we can't control, because it is there in so many of us today, where some things are unexplainable, and so this will suddenly put that into check. All these things are used: humility, surrender, and then 43, page number 43, word of the Buddha. Now, if someone should say that feeling is his self, he should be answered thus: there are three kinds of feeling: pleasurable, painful, and indifferent feeling. Which of these three feelings do you consider as yourself? Because at the moment of experiencing one of these feelings, one does not experience the other two. These three kinds of feelings are impermanent, of dependent origin, are subject to decay and dissolution, to fading away and extinction. So when you are reading like this, you must get an idea. Okay? Whenever you are eating something or something, the tongue is there, one object touches it, and there's a feeling coming. Okay? So it has never been there forever. When that changes, it changes to the other. It has happened to all our experiences, with the ear, with the eyes, with the nose, and so on. So these three kinds of feelings are impermanent, of dependent origin, and subject to decay and dissolution, fading away and extinction. Whoever, in experiencing one of these feelings, thinks that this is his self, must, after the extinction of that feeling, admit that his self has become dissolved. So normally we are always thinking, this I felt it, this is me. Okay? So we have to reason out. When that feeling goes away, if it is really so what we are thinking, then we must think we also disappeared after that. Okay? Whoever, in experiencing one of these feelings, thinks that this is his self, must, after the extinction of that feeling, admit that his self has become dissolved. And thus he will consider this self already in this present life as impermanent, mixed up with pleasure and pain, subject to rising and passing away. If anyone should say that feeling is not his self, now then when you reason out like that, you might think, oh, feeling is not myself. And that his self is inaccessible to feeling, that myself is something not with feeling, something beyond or something outside. You can reason out or think like that. If anyone should say that feeling is not his self and that his self is inaccessible to feel, he should be asked thus. Buddha is telling, he should be asked thus: Now, where there is no feeling, is it then possible to say, this am I? Very interesting. When there's no feeling at all, you just have to imagine, okay? The idea of I does not arise. I give you a small example you can notice also. Say you are seated like this and your legs get numb and the blood is not flowing, okay? And even if you don't see from your eyes also the leg, you will lose that idea, this my leg is here. When you feel, with the feeling only, the idea of I is an idea of I comes. That's why it's not real, this idea of I is an illusion. But this way you have to analyze, reflect and apply, and then learn to think about it in your walking meditation. This is for example I'm just skipping and just trying to give you ideas. So in your walking meditation, and you might, there are levels of real this becoming clear. Okay, so keep in mind, just to pursue, and even if you little understand, you start from that and then it goes on. And then there could be a very special phenomenal experiences can happen. But you have to really keep to yourself, feel you're alone, and go to the go to the kuti or go to the dhanashala. Just don't look or try to mentally think not to be contacted with anybody. Maybe you have to get water, any other thing you're going, just think how I'm going to get the water and come to my kuti, or go to the bodhi tree or something like that, or come to the hall or something. This way you have to practice to get something. Otherwise it will just be, you lose that, because we did it like that. This is all what we did and how it happened. So I don't see any other way. There are some who are just, half-heartedly, like little bit mingling. That will not happen. Nothing will really, blossom as an experience. You have to really be strict, like a yogi. Remember the arahants, and then do the practices like that. Results will settle. Of course, I didn't stay in a meditation this much crowd. In Kolgastua, when I had to do this with Bante, sometimes few upasakas used to come. And being young at that time, they were very keen why I'm practicing so much, and they want to have a conversation. And I used to tell them, after sometimes 4 days they come. So there's a group of uncles, they used to come, and actually they are looking for arahants everywhere. So if some monk is not talking, they would they would have a big imagination about this monk. And then suddenly they finally get angry or somewhere, and then they're searching Anuradhapura like this, everywhere they used to tour. Maybe they're dead and gone, but they used to go for retreats. But one sad thing I found was, in retreats, who are going to retreat, they stopped there. They never became monks. This I'm expecting to break through this, to really be going, to a next step, really to let go. This is what we did. If I can show you my marks in my body, putting some effort, what happens? Not 10 years back or 5 years back, just less than a year ago what I experienced. So this is all with that spirit. I didn't know I will come back again. And now I'm really happy, no problem for me to let go, because that time I was thinking about my life, because I want to do this. I have not done that then. That was like June, July last year. So I took oxygen and all these things. Otherwise, before I would never do like that. I would just go and test myself whether I might leave the body with that. So you really have to think, you have to really see the seriousness of this. No one is going to support you. Your family, relations, they are going to take you down. That attachment is going to take you into a lower world. And it's like, if you know the spirits and all that, how many are there, ancestors, stuck. Some who have done a lot of pinkamas, who have done meditation programs also. But they didn't practically let go. They were not able to let go in such a way that they were safe in samsara. And later on they are with their other relations. They are dead and they are there, no one knows. They also don't know. When they get old, they get to know. Because suddenly they see them, because the people who are dying, they see their parents, relations. They have done so much meritorious things, but they didn't remove the attachment. they still felt so connected to the sons and children and home and husbands, wives and all that. So this is I have studied this for a long time. I have seen this. It's very so Buddha, how he says Kanakaspya, like how difficult. Anattamagga Samyutta, I hope you have read through, started that already. Then you get the real picture. With that intensity only, and these things become real, and you must make a revolution in your family and others, or at least they should get touched by you, by the practice. And you don't expect each person brings their own potential from previous life, you can't force it, but at least you present the opportunity for it. If anyone should say that feeling is not his self and that his self is inaccessible to feeling, he should be asked thus, now where there is no feeling, is it then possible to say, this am I? Or another might say, feeling indeed is not myself, but it is also untrue that myself is inaccessible to feeling. For it is myself that feels, myself that has the faculty of feeling. Such a one should be answered thus, suppose that feeling should become altogether totally extinguished. Now if after the extinction of feeling, no feeling whatsoever exists there, is it then possible to say, this am I? It is same like the other one. It is, when the feelings are absolutely not there to be found at all, the idea of I cannot come. Okay? You give an I actually. Now I know the gentleman who drives not gentleman, he's a boy actually, like in his 20s, who drives the auto rickshaw. He's the one who told me, he's so connected with the auto rickshaw that he told me that he talks to the auto rickshaw. He's a Tamil boy. He talks and he has a good relation and he has such a faith that he will not let him down. And it's true. So this is because that that much you can mentally you can get and you can give life to something. And so same way when we are attached to somebody, like say parents, when you are really attached, why it's so important when they die, the body is so important to relations. Because they think that person is that body. It cannot arise without certain degree of attachment. With that attachment, it should be to a feeling. The Rupa should bring a feeling, and that attachment creates that sense of person there. So that all comes by, he's also attached to himself so much, his body and all that. So that is reflecting on other objects. And you can easily see with parents, their hair and all that, you picture them with a picture like that. And so if we don't have feeling whatsoever, we can't get the idea of I. And really there's no idea of, there's no I, because you can see even your own parents, how the body has changed. And your own body too. What was when you were small and what when you were young, it has changed so much. So we must see how this is happening. Next page 44 is to assert that the mind or the mind objects or mind consciousness constitute the self. Such an assertion is unfounded. For arising and passing away is seen, and seeing the rising and passing away of these things, one should come to the conclusion that one's self arises and passes away. It would be better for the unlearned worldling to regard his body built up of 4 elements as his self rather than his mind. For it is evident that the body may last for a year, or 2 years, or 3 years, 5 or 10 years, or even for 100 years and more. But that which is called thought or mind or consciousness rises continuously during day and night as one thing and passes away as another thing. Because body we can visually or we can see it, we can see other people or ourselves also. But the mind changes so fast, as I told now also, that it looks one stream, like a one stream. So that's why it's difficult. We get more idea of the mind as ourselves. But now when we broke down, when we saw that, when we begin to understand from our mind that the ear and the object, and they come together, creates ear consciousness, the eye and the object, the nose and the object, like that, how the consciousness arises. With the mind we begin to see what happens so fast. So when we begin to analyze and study like that, then we get the idea, we can realize also the nature of consciousness, that is so illusionary, and like components are there. There is not one whole thing. Like that, when we begin to see in our mind the idea of impermanence and also idea of permanence and the idea of a person begins to dissolve. It all happens in the mind. You can't see it here. You can notice now the wind touch and then it passes away. That is also a way of being aware of anityata. But that is not a deeper awareness which will lead to a deeper realization. So this is the purpose here, to make that real level of Sati Sambojjhanga, Dhamma Vijaya Bojjhanga to happen. Where you are mentally, you have to internally think about it. So that's the type of Sakmana also we are supposed to do. We are mentally contemplating and doing, not looking at any particular touch, feeling. That is initially little bit done to bring your mind to the present moment, but not dwelling on that. That's why this is not a technique based. This is directly how the Buddha and the disciples, those days how they did it, we are doing it. There's no other way. There's no other interpretation and no other way trying to be done. Those techniques and everything was brought from the suttas. According to their teachers, they with their practice they brought about that. But according to my teachers and how I got this thing, it was not to be interpreted at all. It was supposed to be taken as it is. And this is my mission also, and not to just take it as to read and get knowledge. How to make it a kamatana and to realize it, to see Nibbana, to see Buddha. Your Dhamma passavi so passavi, for that to happen through this. Here we are, yeah. Okay, 44, last part. Now if anyone should ask, have you been in the past, and is it untrue that you have not been? Will you be in the future, and is it untrue that you will not be? Are you now, and is it untrue that you are not? You may reply that you have been in the past, and that it is untrue that you have not been. That you will be in the future, and that it is untrue that you will not be. That you are, and that it is untrue that you are not. In the past, only that past existence was real. But unreal the future and the present existence. In the future only now when you really practice this, if you have some trauma or some problem, if you really pay attention to this and apply, this is all helping you to let go of the past which is finished and gone, and not to anticipate the future which has not arisen yet, and to pay attention to now. In the past only that past existence was real. But unreal the future and the present existence. So when you were doing something in the past, it was real at that time, and now what we are experiencing was not arisen that time. It has not come. So it was not real. These are only words, this thing doing like this, but it's trying to explain one particular point again and again to bring your mind to the present. But unreal the future and the present existence. In the future, only the future existence will be real, but unreal the past and the present existence. Now only the present existence is real, but unreal the past and the future existence. One who perceives dependent origination perceives the truth, and one who perceives the truth perceives the dependent origination. For just as from cow comes milk, from milk curd, from curd butter, from butter ghee, from ghee the skim of ghee, and when it is milk it is not counted as curd or butter. or ghee or skim of ghee, but only as milk. And when it is curd, it's only counted as curd. Just so was my past existence. At that time, real but unreal, the future and the present existence. And the Buddha himself said, all these are merely popular designations and expressions, mere conventional terms of speaking, mere popular notions. The perfect one indeed makes use of these without, however, clinging to them. Thus one who does not understand form, feeling, perception, mental formations and consciousness according to the reality as void of self, nor understand their arising, their extinction, and the way to their extinction, he is liable to believe either that the perfect one continues after death or that he does not continue after death, and so on. That means about the Buddha also, or ourselves, we will have all types of views. But when we know that they rise with causes and they disappear when the causes are disappearing, even the idea of a person there will disappear. Okay, so you will not relate yourself anyway in the past, you were there like this, like that, or you will become like that in the future, because you are not there while you are here talking also. There is no person as you. This is only you are having an idea with your craving and wrong mindfulness. Page dependent origination. On ignorance, avijja depend the karma formation. On the karma formations depend consciousness, starting with rebirth consciousness in the womb of the mother. On consciousness depends the mental and physical existence on the mental. When you are reading this, I know someone without the context will think that we are now studying Buddhism, right? We are studying. But I know now you're trying to get that kamatana, right? Very good. I can feel that in your now. On ignorance, depending the karma, to mentally picture it and to see the links again, On ignorance, depending the karma formations. On the karma formations depend consciousness, starting with rebirth consciousness in the womb of a mother. On the consciousness depends the mental and physical existence, Namarupa. On the mental and physical existence depends the six sense organs. On the six sense organs depends sensorial impression, Passa. On sensorial impressions depending feeling. On feeling depends craving. On craving depends clinging. On clinging depends the process of becoming. On the process of becoming, Karma Bhava, karma process depends rebirth, jati. On the rebirth depends decay and death, jara, marana, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. Thus arises this whole mass of suffering. This is called the noble truth of the origin of suffering. No God, no Brahma can be called the maker of this wheel of life. Empty phenomena roll on, dependent on conditions of life. A disciple, however, in whom an ignorance has disappeared and wisdom arises, such a disciple heaps up neither meritorious nor demeritorious nor imperturbable karma formations. The term sankhara has been rendered by Thus, through the entire fading away and extinction of this ignorance, the karma formations are extinguished. Through the extinction of karma formations, just think one day if you happen to stop getting angry and getting desire at all, the karma formations start to diminish and stop. Say one day you happen to come to that state whatsoever. You come to that state completely. Then the causes for consciousness diminishes. If there won't be consciousness, Namarupa will be absent, can't arise. Through the extinction of consciousness, the mental and physical existence is extinguished. Through the extinction of mental and physical existence, the six sense organs are extinguished. Through the extinction of six sense organs, sensorial impression is extinguished. We are hearing birds and all that, but this all, if you don't have ear, eye, nose, tongue, body, none of this can take place. Through the extinction of sensorial impressions, feeling is extinguished. Through the extinction of feeling, craving is extinguished. Through the extinction of craving, clinging is extinguished. Through the extinction of clinging, the process of becoming is extinguished. Through the extinction of the process of becoming, rebirth is extinguished. Through the extinction of rebirth, decay and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair are extinguished. Thus takes place the extinction of these bodies. Very subtle, very fine. You have to slowly tune, calm down, look at it again and again, calming down. Just those links, that is conditioned, and the idea of person will also start to diminish with that. That is only conditioned thing that we are named of getting the idea and feeling this me, this I. Truly, 48th page, truly because beings obstructed by ignorance and ensnared by craving seek ever fresh delight, now here, now there, therefore fresh rebirth continuously comes to be. And the actions that is done out of greed, hatred and delusion that springs from them has its source and origin in them. This action ripens wherever one is reborn. And wherever this action ripens, there one experiences the fruits of this action, be it in this life or in the next life or in some future life. However, through the fading away of ignorance, through the arising of wisdom, through the extinction of craving, no future rebirth takes place again. For the actions which are not done out of greed, hatred and delusion, which have not sprung from them, which have not their source and origin in them, such actions through the absence of greed, hatred and delusion are abandoned, rooted out, like a palm tree torn out of the soil, destroyed and not able to spring up again. In this respect, one may rightly say of me that I teach annihilation, that I propound my doctrine for the purpose of annihilation, and that I, the hearing, train my disciples, for certainly I do teach annihilation, the annihilation namely of greed, hatred and delusion, as well as of the manifold evil and unwholesome things. When you are reading, you must read from the beginning to end. Don't miss anything. Even his explanations, all are very good, very helpful. But apply where there's places to apply, learn to apply. That is the one you must master. What you're reading, how to apply it yourself. When it comes, even they look simple, but that is how you place the real sati. When he talks about the six organs or the skandhas, you must learn to mentally create that. Go to 68, page 68. This is the symmetric meditation. And further, just as if the disciples were looking at a corpse thrown on a charnel ground, 1, 2 or 3 days dead, swollen up, blue-black in color, full of corruption, so he regards his own body. This body of mine also has this nature, has the destiny, and cannot escape it. And further, just as if the disciples were looking at a corpse thrown on a charnel ground, eaten by crows, hawks or vultures, by dogs or jackals, or devoured by all kinds of worms, so he regards his own body. This body of mine also has this nature, has this destiny, and cannot escape it. And further, just as if the disciples were looking at a corpse thrown on the charnel ground, a framework of bones, flesh hanging from it, bespattered with blood, held together by the sinews. A framework of bone, stripped of flesh, bespattered with blood, held together by the sinews. A framework of bone without flesh and blood, but still held together by sinews. Bones disconnected and scattered in all directions. Here bone of the hand, there bone of the foot, there shin bone, there thigh bone, there pelvis, there the spine, there the skull. So he regards his own body. This body of mine also has this nature, has this destiny, and cannot escape it. And further, just as if the disciples were looking at bones lying in the charnel ground, bleached and resembling shells, bones heaped together after the lapse of years, bones weathered and crumbled to dust, so he regards his own body. This body of mine also has this nature, has this destiny, and cannot escape it. Thus he dwells in contemplation of the body, either with regard to his own person, or to other persons, or to both. You can put that to whoever you are closely associated this time, to their bodies also. This is helping you to let go. All this is done to visualize and let go from your mind. That exercise only you are trying to master. And immediately you will begin to see near your forehead a coolness if you properly do it. And your very good, you could say, hormones that are helping you to concentrate, especially the pineal gland, will start to work more. And the secretion of serotonin, that will happen more. And this is a special one. This is called actually this, what is created by doing this. Normally when you get samadhi and sati and samadhi and like that, it's called ojas. This is also very helpful, very powerful, some kind of substance that's created in you. But when you are analyzing and doing it, causes more finer, more refined. You could say gold hormones, super gold hormones in your body. This starts to happen. This is normally in the other way called tejas. So it creates, as a person also, it creates special personality and like a glow. If you are doing these thoughts all continuously, physically also you begin to create a glow with outwardly. But mentally, internally, you are creating a very fine a certain substance, especially when you are doing, and that is because this kusal is more stronger than any kind of other kusal in any other type of meditation. This is how I found. Now when I did other meditations, like those people in India, those they still didn't see, they just said like 50%. But when in a fast way I read it, I did the practice again, which I did as a young boy, but very fast in Attanagalla and all that. And then Kalpyuma, then suddenly it was 90%. We don't measure it now, we don't think. So I'm just trying to stress, like it took me so many years to come to this point. I should have done it, I had so much free time also. But that is some karma, it takes you in another direction. So this will create so much kusal. While you are doing this, so many things are happening inside you, within you, in your brain. Bones whether it crumble to dust. So he regards his own body. This body of mine is also okay. Thus he does contemplation in the body, either with regard to his own person or to the other persons or to both. He beholds how the body arises, beholds how it passes away. So mentally you have to fast see this. And then you will see the person is like not there. How it rises and how it passes away. Beholds the rising and passing away of the body. The body is there. This clear awareness is present in him to the extent necessary for knowledge and mindfulness. And he lives independent, unattached to anything in the world. Thus does the disciple dwells in contemplation of the body. Anyone reading in Sinhalese, if they have the previous book, Sinhalen කියවනවා නම් කීප දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා මම හිතන්නේ. ඒක බලන්න කෝකද පැහැදිලි කියලා අර මනසෙන් ආයි ඒක වඩන්න. දැන් මට සිංහලෙන් ලේසි. දැන් අර කමාරුවෙන් කියා කරන්නේ. මේක දැන් අවුරුදු ගණන් මෙයා කරන හැබැයි අරගෙදි දැන් මට මෙයා වෙලා ඒජයක් තියෙනවා මම ධර්මයේ බැලුවේ ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් නේ. හිතෙන් මැවිලා පෙවුනේ තරුණ කාලේ ඉඳන් ඒක ඊට පස්සේ අර මේක අත්දැක ඒක අර වචන අපි පාවිච්චි වෙන ඒක හිතේ චිත්‍ර රූපයක් ඇති වෙන විදියක් තියෙනවනේ. ඉතින් අරම බලනවා නම් අර දැන් ඔය කියපු කරුණු අරකේ බලන්න පැහැදිලි වෙනවා. මම හැදෙන එකක් ගැන කියනෝනේ දැනීමත් එක්ක ඒක ටිකක් කියවන්න. ඒක දැන් ඔක්කොම කියවන්න අනිවාර්යෙන්ම. හැබැයි ඔක්කොම කියවන්නේ පොතයි ඊට පස්සේ ළඟ ටිකයි. හැබැයි අර කරුණ අරකේ පැහැදිලි නම් අර විදියට ගන්න. ඒක තමයි ඉම්පෝටන්ට් මේ. නිවනට භාෂාවකුත් නැහැ, එකකුත් නැහැ, මොනවත් නැහැ. නිවනට යන්නේදී අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්න බෑ මොකක් හරි. අර ස්කන්ධ වර්ගය අපි දැන් බලන්න ඒක මේක පැහැදිලි නම් මේක කමන්නේ නැහැ. බලන්න ප්‍රායෝගිකව කොහොමද වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා. මේවා හරියට වැඩුවම Tamanට ඇඟවල් පේන්නේ නැතුව යනවා. මේවා රූප වේදනා සංඥා කියලා මම කිව්වේ අර LTTS මම යනකොට. ඒගොල්ලන් මම දැක්කේ නෑ LTT හැටියට. මේ රූප වේදනා සංඥා සංඛාර කියලා. ඒක හොඳට වැදිලා තියෙනෝනේ ඔළුවට ගිලා අවබෝධත් වෙන්න ඕනේ ඇත්ත කියනවා. නැත්නම් ඉතින් මේ කරන හරියට කරනවනේ අවබෝධ වෙන්න ඕනේ. ගොඩක් අය එක අය කියනවා මේ හාමුදුරුවෝ දෙමළද නේද? ඒගොල්ලන් දන්නේ කොච්චර අමාරුවෙන් මම මේ සිංහලෙන් කතා කරගෙන ඉතියද කියලා. I'm feeling මේකට හොඳයි නේද? මේකේ තියෙනව නේද මම? පුරුද්දට මම හිතනවා මේකෙන්ම ඒක බොහොම පැහැදිලි. අපි කොහොමද උදකලා වෙලා නිස්කලංකව බැලෙන්න ඕන එක. ඒකට තමයි මේ වල යම් සංඥාගත වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ අන පිළිවෙලේ යම මේකක් තියෙනවා ක්‍රමයක්. ගුරු ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ මේ විදියට මේවා කරේ අවුරුදු ගණන් එක විදියක් කළා මම පස්සේ තමයි තේරෙන්නේ මේකේ තියෙන අමුතු විදියට මොලේ කරවන දෙයක්. ඒක උන්වහන්සේගේ මේ විසරද දැනුමෙන් තමයි මේක ඒ විදිහට ක්‍රමයක් ස්කන්ධ වර්ගය බලලා අපි තව එකක් පැලෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අන්තිමටම මම එකක් කියලා තියෙනවා පැරෂූට් ජම්ප් එක කියලා. ඒක මම නමක් දැම්මේ මොකද කමාන්ඩෝස්ලාගේ ඒ කාලේ අන්තිම ට්‍රේනින් එක කරන ගමන් තමයි ඒගොල්ලන් අර ඒකෙදි මිෂන් එකකුත් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ට්‍රේනින් එකට දාගන්නවා. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ තමයි මම දැක්කේ sorry මම සිංහලට ගියා. So actually my teacher, is to have a certain form. This is, we are going to go through, yesterday we started the Kanda Vagga. This is entire section we have to read just like applying the small book. Small book is to give a general structure. That is very important, and this is now coming to a specific training into looking at, these are all, each sutta was for a person to become Arahant. This sutta was told where they attain final enlightenment. So now to get used to the thinking, the type of thinking that will lead to, these are actually like signposts. My teacher used to tell me, the suttas are like signposts. That means they are kamatahan. Kamatahan is a signpost towards a certain experience. So this especially to bring out wisdom, to see things as they are, to get the truth of our being, and that wisdom is known, it will create desirelessness, dispassion. That is normally called nibbindati. So I equate that to like you're holding a string and suddenly you see the reality, you see this is a snake you're holding. Then the shock you get, you let go. So that effect, if it's going to happen even little, that means you're looking at the Dhamma in the correct way. That's what you get faith also, because that's where you're really seeing the Buddha body, the Dhamma body. So that will happen now when we are reading and applying. It seems simple, but these suttas were told when they were ripe. Buddhas waited for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Now we don't have like that. But now you're given the possibility, the opportunity for this to happen to you. And if it's not going to happen, even to get familiar, one day in future for it to happen. Even if you're wishing to become a Buddha, somebody might be, or you want to become a disciple of the Buddha, this will be preparing you for that the best way. If you avoid this, you will not even get a human birth. Leave alone becoming Buddha or anything. Because you will have so much attachments and only wishes and no focus in the present moment, and you are losing everything. Understand? I hope this is well recorded and I can't repeat these things again and again. Yesterday evening, some were not here, right? Who were not there? Like 2-3 people were not there. Only one. We read just one sutta only from this. So, page number 16, the big book. Read in page number 22 this sutta again. Halita Kani. Thus have I heard on one occasion the Venerable Mahakanchana was dwelling among the people of Avanti on Mount Papatta, Lunkar. Having left home to roam without abode,
In the village, the sage is intimate with none. Rid of sensual pleasures without expectations, he would not engage people in dispute. How, Venerable Sir, should the meaning of this stated by the Blessed One in the brief be understood in detail? The form element householder is the home of consciousness. One whose consciousness is shackled by lust for the form element is called one who roams about in a home. Samyutta Nikaye කන්දවර්ග එකේ අපි ඊට තුන්වෙනි අර හලිතකාණී කියන සූත්‍රය. The form element householder is the home of consciousness, and one whose consciousness is shackled by the feeling element is the home of consciousness. The perception element is the home of consciousness. Now this should help you to sharpen your awareness of this idea, how the consciousness is connected with the Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, feelings, perceptions and so on. Okay, so that is taken as the home of consciousness. If you break the shackle by lust for the form element is called one who roams about in the home. The feeling element is the home of consciousness. The perception element is the home of consciousness. The volitional formation element is the home of consciousness. One whose consciousness is shackled by the lust for the volitional formation element is called one who roams about in a home. It is in such a way that one roams about in a home. And how, householder, does one roam about homeless? The desire, lust, delight and craving, the engagement and clinging, the mental standpoints, adherences and underlying tendencies regarding the form element, these have been abandoned by the Tathagata. Cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, obliterated so that they are no more subject to future rising. Therefore the Tathagata is called one who roams about homeless. The desire, lust, delight and craving, the engagement and clinging, the mental standpoints, adherences and underlying tendencies regarding the feeling element, the perception element, the volitional formation element, the consciousness element, these have been abandoned by the Tathagata, cut off at the root, made like a palm stem, obliterated so that they are no more subject to future rising. Therefore, the Tathagata is called one who roams about homeless. It is in such a way that one roams about homeless. When I speak like this, people who are in the back, can they hear? You can hear? And how, householder, does one roam about in an abode? By diffusion and confinement in the abode consisting in the sign of forms. One is called one who roams about in an abode. By diffusion and confinement in the abode consisting in the sign of sounds, the sign of odors, the sign of... when you are dealing, you must go to all the six. You must pay attention to your organs also mentally. The sign of taste, the sign of tactile objects, the sign of mental phenomena. One is called one who roams about in an abode. And how, householder, does one roam about without an abode? Diffusion and confinement in the abode consisting in the sign of forms, these have been abandoned by the Tathagata, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, obliterated so that they are no more subject to future rising. Therefore the Tathagata is called one who roams about without abode. Diffusion and confinement. The abode consisting in the sign of sounds, the sign of odors, the sign of taste, the sign of tactile objects, the sign of mental phenomena. These have been abandoned by the Tathagata, cut off at the root, made like a palm stem, obliterated so that they are no more subject to future rising. Therefore the Tathagata is called one who roams about without abode. It is in such a way that one roams about without abode. And how, householder, is one intimate in the village? Here, householder, someone lives in association with lay people. He rejoices with them and sorrows with them. He is happy when they are happy and sad when they are sad. And he involves himself in their affairs and duties. It is in such a way that one is intimate in the village. And how householder is one intimate with none in the village? He householder, a bhikkhu, does not live in association with the lay people. He does not rejoice with them. Page number 28. Because I will teach you the agitation through clinging and non-agitation through non-clinging. Listen to that and attend closely, I will speak. Yes, Venerable Sir, those bhikkhus replied, the Blessed One said this. And how bhikkhus is their agitation through clinging? Here bhikkhus, the uninstructed worldly, who is not a seer of the noble ones, and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, who is not a seer of the superior person, and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, regards form as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in form. That form of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of form, his consciousness becomes preoccupied with the change of form. Agitation and constellation of mental states born of preoccupation with the change of form remain obsessing his mind. Because his mind is obsessed, he is frightened, distressed and anxious, and through clinging he becomes agitated. He regards feeling as self, perception as self, volitional formations as self, consciousness as self, or self as possessing consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness. That consciousness of his changes and alters. When you are reading like this, you must also know slightly what you are seeing also. You must try to apply it to that. Okay? Like now I am seeing yogis meditating or sitting in front of me with white and Venerable Sirs and the nuns. So slightly what I am seeing, what is that? In there is perception, volitional feelings, perception, volitional formation. This is what it is. So I might think that this experience I am having, I am in it and like that. So whatever you are already, you must try to little bit relate to what you are experiencing immediately also. With that, so in case now with the change and now. So now here something happens, for example, that is, something that maybe I'm expecting some people to be quiet maybe, and maybe they are talking or something like that. Then you know that Like now when I think like it's me, it's I, then I would feel and I would be reacting. Okay? So now in this training you will find that when we go through that, preoccupied with change of the consciousness, agitation and constellation of mental states born of preoccupation with the change of consciousness remain obsessing his mind. So you must know that this problem comes from you, not from this outside thing, because of your unenlightened and your bad habits of seeing it so much as me, I, and things should be this way. Okay? This has to be applied like that because his mind is obsessed, he is frightened, distressed and anxious. And through clinging, now this can be applied when you're going to hospital everywhere. When you're facing a challenging situation, this will be a best way you know how to direct your mind to face that. Okay, you are going to the Dhamma, Dhamma Sarana, Anya Sarana, Dhamma Sarana, Dhamma Dvipa, and Dhammanupassana, our practice here. It is in such a way because that there is agitation through clinging. And how bhikkhus is there? Non-agitation through non-clinging. Here bhikkhus, the instructed noble disciple, who is a seer of noble ones and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, who is a seer and superior persons and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, does not regard form as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in form. That form of his changes and alters. This you will be practicing little bit like looking at yourself from outside, relaxing and getting this idea that form of his changes and alters. While he is thinking like that, say something happens. Despite the change and alteration of form, his consciousness does not become preoccupied with the change of form. No agitation and constellation of mental states born of preoccupation with the change of form remain obsessing his mind. Because his mind is not obsessed, he is not frightened, distressed or anxious, and through non-clinging he does not become agitated. When you are practicing like that, in these ways of that the form does not regard form as self or self as possessing form. This line of looking at it, you must repeatedly put into yourself and make it an exercise in your mind, and then get an idea. There may be a time that I can leave it completely as no me, not I here. Okay? You must try to think of it. Now you might little bit see, you are trying to observe and you are creating another awareness, a special awareness that this body is not mine, feelings are not mine, perceptions are not mine. That form of his changes and alters, but despite the change and alteration of form, his consciousness does not become preoccupied with the change of form. He does not regard feeling as self, perception as self, volitional formations as self, consciousness as self, or self as possessing consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness. That consciousness of these changes and alters. Despite the change and alteration of consciousness, his consciousness does not become preoccupied with the change of consciousness. No agitation and constellation of mental states born of preoccupation with the change of consciousness remain obsessing his mind. Because his mind is not obsessed, he is not frightened, distressed or anxious, and through non-clinging he does not become agitated. This is actually as an arhat completely how he will be thinking. Page number 30. Bhikkhu's form is impermanent, both of the past and the future. Now when you're reading like that, you must immediately put your mind into the past. Bhikkhu's form is impermanent, both of the past and the future. So the past, whatever form you had, it arose and passed away, and you know continuously is happening. And the future, if it arises like this, it will pass away. Not to speak of the present. So if it happens in the past and it's going to happen in the future, what to say about the present moment? Seeing thus bhikkhus, the instructed noble disciple is indifferent towards form of the past. He does not seek delight in form of the future, and is practicing for the revulsion towards form of the present, for its fading away and cessation. Feeling is impermanent, perception is impermanent, volitional formations are impermanent, consciousness is impermanent, both of the past and the future, not to speak of the present. So that impermanent idea of the past, you must think about it. But if something suddenly you remember now, you can apply there. Whatever feelings, perceptions you had, it arose and passed away. Say for example, I went to India, certain things I experienced, this and that. It's in the past. It arose, and what was that experience? That was the Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara. It arose and it passed away. And if any other experience comes in the future in the form of Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, that will, it has an arising, so it will pass away. So whatever experience now you're experiencing, in relation to what happened in the past and what might happen in the future, is going to finish up. Like looking from yourself from outside, with the idea of letting go of this body and feelings, you have to do this contemplation. Feeling is impermanent, perception is impermanent, volitional formations are impermanent, consciousness is impermanent, both of the past and the future, not to speak of the present. Seeing thus bhikkhus, the instructed noble disciple is indifferent towards consciousness of the past. He does not seek delight in consciousness of the future, and he is practicing for the revulsion towards the consciousness of the present, for its fading away and cessation. Page number 33. Impermanent with a cause. At Savatthi bhikkhus, form is impermanent. The cause and condition for the rising of form is also impermanent. As form has originated from what is impermanent, how could it be permanent? The cause of form is karma and food. Okay, so they are themselves impermanent. So what has come about? How can it be permanent? This is the way of thinking here. Bhikkhus, page number 33. Bhikkhus' form is impermanent. The cause and condition for the rising of form is also impermanent. As form has originated from what is impermanent, how could it be permanent? Feeling is impermanent. Perception is impermanent. Volitional formations are impermanent. Consciousness is impermanent. The cause and condition for the rising of consciousness is also impermanent. As consciousness has originated from what is impermanent, how could it be permanent? Page number 34, next page. Because form is suffering, the cause and condition for the rising of form is also suffering. As form has originated from what is suffering, how could it be happiness? Feeling is suffering, perception is suffering, volitional formations are suffering, consciousness is suffering. The cause and condition for the rising of consciousness is also suffering. As consciousness has originated from what is suffering, how could it be happiness? Because form is non-self, the cause and condition for the rising of form is also non-self. As form has originated from what is non-self, how could it be self? Feeling is non-self, perception is non-self, volitional formations are non-self, consciousness is non-self. The cause and condition for the rising of consciousness is also non-self. As consciousness has originated from what is non-self, how could it be self? Page number 35. Page number 35. Because I will teach you the burden, the carry of the burden, the taking of the burden, and the laying down of the burden. And what bhikkhu is the burden? It should be said, the five aggregates subject to clinging. What five? The form aggregate subject to clinging, the feeling aggregate subject to clinging, the perception aggregate subject to clinging, the volitional formations aggregate subject to clinging, the consciousness aggregate subject to clinging. This is called the burden. And what bhikkhus is the carrier of the burden? It should be said, the person, this Venerable one, of such a name and clan, this is called the carrier of the burden. And what bhikkhus is the taking up of the burden? It is this craving that leads to renewed existence, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there. That is craving for sensual pleasures, craving for existence, craving for extermination, kamatanna, bhavatanna, vibhavatanna. This is called the taking up of the burden. And what bhikkhu is the laying down of the burden? It is the remainderless fading away and cessation of the same craving, the giving up of relinquishing of it, freedom from it, non-reliance on it. This is called the laying down of the burden. The five aggregates are truly burdens. The burden carrier is the person. Taking up the burden is suffering. In the world, laying the burden down is blissful. Having laid the heavy burden down without taking up another burden, having drawn out craving with its root, one is free from hunger, fully quenched. Page number 40. The arising. At Savasti Bhikkhus, the rising, continuation, production and manifestation of form is the arising of suffering. Now when you read this, you must get like a mental picture. From nothing arising, something manifesting. Okay? Mentally you must think like an empty thing to something coming out. Because the rising, continuation, production and manifestation of form is the rising of suffering, the continuation of disease, the manifestation of aging and death, the rising of feeling, of perception of volitional formations of consciousness is the rising of suffering, the continuation of disease, manifestation of aging and death. The cessation, subsiding and passing away of form, feelings, perceptions and consciousness is the cessation of suffering, the subsiding of disease, passing away of aging and death. Page number 41. Next page, the fragile. And what bhikkhu is the fragile and what is the unfragile? Form is the fragile. Its cessation is subsiding, passing away is the unfragile. Feeling is the fragile. Perception is the fragile. Mental formations are the fragile. Consciousness is the fragile. Its cessation, subsiding, passing away is the unfragile. Because whatever is not yours, abandon it. When you have abandoned it, that will lead to your welfare and happiness. And what is it? Because that is not yours. Form is not yours. Abandon it. When you have abandoned it, that will lead to your welfare and happiness. Feeling is not yours. Perception is not yours. Volitional formations are not yours. Consciousness is not yours. Abandon it. When you have abandoned it, that will lead to your welfare and happiness. Suppose because people were to carry off the grass, sticks, branches and foliage in this Jeta grove, or to burn them, or to do with them as they wish. Would you think people are carrying us off, or burning us, or doing with us as they wish? No, Venerable Sir. For what reason? Because, Venerable Sir, that is neither our self nor what belongs to ourself. So too, because form is not yours, feelings are not yours, perceptions are not yours, mental formations are not yours, consciousness is not yours. Abandon it. When you have abandoned it, that will lead to your welfare and happiness. Now you'll have to go for dana. Normally 5 days, 5-day program, I came daily, but I might come today also evening, see, but continue this. Okay, if I don't come or come, now you have what to do, you know, you must continue reading, keep yourself alone, feel that you are alone. In case any disturbance that will come, one thing you can do also is go to the Bodhi tree, chant Pirit Sutra. If not, don't worry, continue. Apply even if any difficulty comes. Apply to that experience you are going through. Try to. Otherwise, you can contact somebody or even send a message to me. I don't think that will happen, but anyway, it happens. So,